All right, welcome to the American Hoops podcast. This is episode 60. So, we're I kind of mentioned this last week or one of the weeks prior to this. We are kind of entering the age, or not the age, the numbers where it's getting tougher and tougher to come up with numbers. So I'm starting to Google ahead of time who were the number for this one. So there are only three NBA players in history to wear the number 60. Two of them were in 1949, I believe, and one of them was actually Jonathan Gibson, who diehard Celtics fan myself. Did not know who that was. He was on the team in 2018. He played for 3 games, or it was 4 games for 3 minutes. 3 minutes per game that he played in. So it was one of the garbage time games that he played in, or for the garbage time games that he played in, and just didn't get a ton of time there. So a little fun fact for you there. Also, Andres Jimenez in 2020 and Michael Givens in 2023 for the New York Mets wore the number 60. So, a couple fun facts for you there. Towards the beginning, it was kind of fun because like trying to think about who's gonna. It was like mostly me just coming up at the top of my head. Episode 30, Steph Curry in for fun, Sam Hauser. But now that we're at 60, it's kind of tough. But anyway, happy MLK Day. Hope that you all got to enjoy. Most of you got to enjoy your day off. I know that I did. I was able to sleep in, then shovel a little bit, and just relax. And now I'm able to actually just do a podcast. So, wasn't able to this past week. It was my mother's birthday, so we were able to go out to dinner, and I just figured I'd get the week off. But I also figured since today's the last day of NBA All-Star voting, that I would make a podcast myself for explaining who I think should be the starters on the NBA, like for the NBA All-Star game. So, but before I do that, because last year when I gave the NBA, when I gave my take on that, I did want to I did explain one other thing, because I know that last year when I picked my starters, if I'm not mistaken, those were around the time that Pascal Siakam was traded to the Pacers, so I gave my take on that. There's unfortunately no big trades that really went down besides the Nick Richards trade. That's not really as league altering as the Siakam to the Pacers, though, given the Raptors were a very good team and they were kind of entering tank mode after that. But I guess like since I do want to fill in some more time besides 10, 15 minutes it's going to take for me to give my take on who I think the starter should be, I guess I should fill my time on the Celtics, because I'm not one to hit my panic button ever, especially when they're second in the East and it's the regular season. But it's getting hard to like remain optimistic about this team, because obviously when push comes to shove, there's not many teams that you're going to trust more than the Celtics, because they have the championship pedigree, because they've proven year after year that they're pretty much a Eastern Conference Finals lock. And they won the title last year, and they're still one of the most talented teams in the league. But they just haven't been playing great, man. They're 8-8 in their last 16. If you want to dig deeper, what is it? 10-9. That's more than half of this season, and like a quarter of the entire season that they've just been playing 500 basketball, and that just doesn't cut it for me. And now I know the pushback to that could be, oh, but they're, what was it, 15-3 to start the season? Yeah, that's great, but they just haven't been playing like that team, and it does cause for a little concern for me. Am I going to pull the plug in my pick for them to win the finals? No, I'm not. Like I said, I still believe in them. I still believe in Jason Tatum. I still believe in Jaylen Brown. I still believe in Joe Mazzulla. I think they can and will figure it out. I know that some people were kind of going after Jaylen Brown in the Friday after they won against the Magic. He kind of gave a comment about like, oh, he has to become more of a playmaker, which he has. He's I think I looked at the stat the other day. I think he averaged more, not average more. He has like more 6+ assist games, or just as many 6+ assist games this year as he did last year, which is huge for growth. But I know some people take that as like, oh, he's not happy with the amount of shots that he's taking, which I just don't see that at all. But my take on the situation would then just turn out to be at the end of the day, yeah, like this happens at least once a year where Jaylen Brown like says like something passive aggressive to the media, and no one it goes like ballistic for like a week, and then no one cares about it afterwards. But like that's just who Jaylen Brown is, and I don't really, not only do I not think like I know that no one really cares about this stuff. So that's my take on the situation with Jaylen Brown. But as far as goes for the Celtics in general, I do think that things will get better, but however, if I'm doing my math correctly, they are currently, I'm looking at it now, they are currently 29-13, which looks great. But just remember the 40-20 rule that was implemented by Phil Jackson. Not implemented, but he's the one that brought it up. And many others have talked about it, including myself, including Dan Greenberg for Barstool Sports. Pretty much every NBA team that has won the title in the past 40 years has won 40 games before losing 20. So the Celtics need to go 11-6 in order to do that. I believe the only teams that didn't do that were the 2021 Bucks, which that was a lockout year, not lockout year, COVID year, kind of, because they started the year late, only played 72 games, and just a lot of injuries. There were like a lot of other things going on. People call the 2020 ring a Mickey Mouse ring. I definitely think it was more 2021, even though I'm not going to discount any title run. Before 2021, it was 2006 with the Heat. Before that, 2004 with the Pistons. So, and then before that, I think it was the 95 Rockets or 94. It was that was the lockout year too. And before that, it was all the way back to the 70s, where it was 3 years in a row the team didn't do that. So almost all teams have won the title. You don't, not necessarily to make the finals, but because like the Mavs last year and the Heat the year before and the Heat in 2020, all were the 5 and the 8 seed. So obviously they did not have to win 40 games before losing 20 to make the finals. But if you want to win the finals, it's pretty much a guarantee that you have to, you're going to have to win 40 games before losing 20. So that's my biggest concern with the Celtics. I would say is they have to go 11-6, with which they just have. They have to pretty much win at an over 60. Let me math real quick. At like a 65% win pace when they've been playing at 500 for the past month and a half or so. So, panic mode, no. Do they need to step it up? Absolutely. They just need to reevaluate themselves and see what needs to happen, because I knew this team wasn't going to be the same as they were last year, but it's just been super disappointing for the past month and a half. If they were consistent 29-13 for the entire year, no one would be stressed. But the thing is, they started off like they were playing last year. Opening night, they were playing better than they were last year somehow. But the past month and a half, they've just been playing 500 basketball, and that's not going to cut it in a far playoff run. So that's my take on the situation. But since the show is titled, I give my picks for the All-Star game. Why don't we dive deep into that right now? Speaking of which, looks like the Pistons are tied at half with the Rockets. That's a good game. And then also the Timberwolves are up 7 on the Grizzlies with to start the second half. So, start the second quarter. The Timberwolves already didn't make the 30-20 rule, and the Grizzlies are 27-15. So they have to go 13 and what is that? 13-4. That's a possible, but it's going to take a lot. And then the Rockets have to pretty much go 12-6. So yeah, a little bit worse than the Grizzlies have a little bit steeper hill ahead, but that will be interesting to see. But for now, let's talk about the NBA All-Star Game. So, John, Matt, and I already kind of went over the All-Star Game and our take on the new formats a couple episodes ago. We agreed that we're not really huge fans of it, but that's okay. It is what it is, really. But it's still gonna be consistent the same way for selecting the starters and everything. So it's still going to be both the East and the West are going to have 12 guys. They both have 5 starters, and it's both consistent position, the same wise position wise. So it's going to be 2 guards, so shooting guard, point guard, 3 front courts, so forward center for the next 3. And then the bench, same thing. 2 guards, 3 forward center, and then that only makes it 10. But however, there's 2 more just wild card guys for the leftover spots who make it 12 and 12. So that's and the way that it's picked per team is that the starters are picked based on the fan. The fan vote consists of 50% of the votes. So for example, out west, Nikola Jokic is almost definitely going to win. Is going to win. He's going to finish first place among the fan votes, so he's going to get 1 point. But then that's only going to be 50%, so it'll be 0.5. Now, say it's going to happen. The media and the players are also going to vote for him first place overall as well. So, but the media and the players takes up 25%. So Then since it's first place, he'll get 0.25, 0.25. So add those up, that's 1 point. Since that's one, and Jokic will probably be unanimous across the board. So the way that it works is that the players are going to, not the players. Like once you add everything up between the media, the players, and the fans, which consists of 50% of the votes, that's how the starters are determined. So after that is when, after the starters are determined, that's when the coaches decide who the role player is going to be. So like I said, that's 2 guards, 3 front courts, and 2 wild cards. So don't have the wild card. I don't have the voting returns on my laptop, but however, I will read them based on how they were last off my phone. Let's see. But I do know it's going to be an interesting discussion for how. Okay, here we go. It was 4 days ago, the last voting return. So it's going to be very interesting because, as I mentioned, Jokic is going to come in first. LeBron did jump KD for the second place. And then Wemby 4th, AD 5th, Şengün 6th, J-Dub 7, Andrew Wiggins 8, Sabonis only 9th, and Jaren Jackson Jr. only 10. So despite the Warriors not being that good, they're still carrying a ton of weight, which is interesting because I expect that from the Lakers. I don't really expect the Warriors' votes to come out a ton. But I guess they are. And then for the guards, it's Shea 1, Steph 2, Luka 3, Kyrie 4, Ant 5, James Harden 6, Ja Morant 7, De'Aaron Fox 8, Devin Booker 9, and Norman Powell 10. Not really many massive takeaways there, except for the fact that Luka's only played in 22 games and he's getting a lot of votes. He's obviously not going to end up being a starter because the media and probably not the players are going to vote for him given the amount of games they played. But that's what we'll see there. And then for the East front courts, we have Giannis, Tatum, Kat, Paolo Banchero 4th, Jaylen Brown 5th, Evan Mobley 6th, Jimmy Butler 7, Franz Wagner 8, Joel Embiid 9, Jared Allen 10. Outside of, so Giannis, Tatum, and Kat, I'll explain those in a little bit, but like, spoiler alert, they're going to be the starters of my team too, but that was really much a surprise, I'm sure. But Banchero, Butler, Franz, and Embiid, 4 out of the 10 guys that are in the top 10 for voting have 0 shot at making the All-Star game. So that's already an interesting dynamic to see how that's going to go between the fans and the fans and the media, between the fans and like the coaches, because after the starters are determined, after the starters are determined, like the players, the players, the media, and the fans, they really don't have any say. It's mainly just the coaches. So, but it still will be interesting to see how they fall in place. And then the guards: LaMelo Ball, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham, Darius Garland, Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero. Most of these guys have a shot, I'd say, making the All-Star game. I'd say Trae Young and Tyrese Maxey pretty low. Jordan Poole pretty low too, but the other ones have a very interesting case. So I will be interested to see how that development goes. But I guess I'll give my picks right now. For I'm going to start off west. I was going to start off east, but I'm going to start off west because let's go geographically. So we're going to start off with the west backcourt. So the west guards. First pick. The first starter that I'm going to say is going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm someone who's been very critical of Shai through the years. I've said that he hasn't won enough playoff series to be warranted all this hype. He's not even close to being on the level of Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker, as I said a couple years ago. But made first team All-NBA 2 years ago, in which I pushed back and said they shouldn't pick him for that. He seemed to make the playoffs. I did, however, pick him to be a starter for the All-Star game that year. But the media really didn't care about that, which is fine by me. And then the year after that, I predicted him to the Thunder to be the 10th seed. They ended up being the 1 seed. And I give him my full flowers because now this year he's duplicating that. Not even duplicating. He's playing at a much better level than last year, and looking like the MVP as of now. So mad props to Shai, leading the Thunder to the 1st seed without his best, debatably his 2 best defenders. For a stretch of period of time, including his second best player, probably. If you want to say that J-Dub is better than Chet, that's okay. That's okay. But at the end of the day, he's been without his best defender and debatably second best player out for most of the season, and the Thunder are still head and shoulders above everyone else in the West. Like I said in 2 weeks ago's episode, I think the gap between the Thunder and everyone else and the second best team in the West, either the Rockets or the Grizzlies, is bigger, or not bigger. Like is the biggest it's been since KD was on the Warriors. So that's how great I think that the Thunder are, and Shai is the main reason for that. So props to Shai. Look, if I did have a vote, which I guess technically by fans you could say I have a vote, but I really don't participate in that a ton. He would have 100% on my vote. But for the next one, we got for the next one. It was an interesting pick to say because there were a lot of options. If Luka had played more games, he'd be my next pick without a doubt. The thing is, he's only played 22 games, so he's not gonna make my cut and probably won't make the other cuts as well. So, just pulling up the other stats on my phone right now. But as of now, my pick would be Steph Curry. Not as of now, but he's my pick because it's the last day. But Steph Curry would be my pick. He's averaging the Warriors stink right now, and I really don't think that he is to blame for that. He's averaging 23, 5, and 6, so not as good as he was last year. But that being said, his impact is still there at more than anything. So I would still say he still deserves to be a starter because not only because of that, but I also just feel like that the West just hasn't been as great with their guards in general. Like Anthony Edwards has been having a great season, but not as good as people expected. Same thing with Devin Booker. Same thing with Kyrie Irving. Not really. Kyrie Irving and James Harden are different stories actually because they're better than people expected, but still not as good as people would say. As people expected them to be, I should say. So, I did have one more stat that I wanted to pull up, but however, it's pretty tough to find those there. But yeah, so Shai and Steph would be my two starters for the All-Star game, despite the Warriors being very disappointing since the start of the year. But Steph Curry is without, I won't say without out because I did think about it a little bit, but Steph Curry would be the second guy in my starting lineup. So for the front courts for the West is where it gets really interesting because, as I mentioned earlier, my first pick would be Nikola Jokic. He is a whether or not you want to say he's the MVP or not, whether you want to give it Shai, it's one of those two guys in my opinion, but he's still absolutely filthy. He's averaging 30, 13, and 10 on a team that's the fourth seed in the West. They have no business being the fourth seed. They're third, in my opinion, third. Most people would say fourth. Best player has been out for most of the season. They lost debatably their best point of attack defender in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and they're still fine. Like they start out pretty slow, but they're the fourth seed, and I do think that outside the Thunder, I think that's if there is a team to make the finals, I think it would be either the Nuggets or the Mavs, and I would take the Nuggets in that series, because I do trust Jokic much more than I trust anyone else in that series. But so he's like the no-brainer. He's 100% going to be a starter here, and I don't think it's up for discussion. The next one is where it gets very interesting. I would take Victor Wembanyama to be my second starter. Now, I was expecting this person to be not good this year. I was kind of expecting just another year where it'd be Wemby just putting up good stats and just letting everything happen out of flow. Like honestly, but the Spurs are just so much better than people expected them to be, and you can give Chris Paul credit for the locker room, like getting the locker room to bind, but I think you should give credit to Wemby. Like, granted, they've lost 3 in a row now, so it's pretty tough. But like they're still in playing contention. They were debatably like an 8th or 9th seed, but however, they have fallen off a little bit. So everything I just said like could turn out to be not true in a few weeks. But that being said, I do think that Wemby has been the second best frontcourt player in the league outside of Jokic. And then for the last one, this one gets really tough, but I do think it's going to be either LeBron James or Kevin Durant. That's not who I'd pick, though. I'd pick Anthony Davis. And he's averaging 26, 12, and 4. Still playing very solid defense. Not as great as like one would expect, but still. People are going to use the Lakers record for why he shouldn't start or why he and LeBron shouldn't be all-stars. But it's been mainly it's been the two of them have been playing like top 15 players. But once you get down below that, like 4 through 9, all of them have been like, to say like they're not top 100 players is very generous. Like I'd say like they're like top 150 at the best, which I'm not going to sit down and go through 150 players, but like but like I'm very confident in saying there are not 150, like there are more than 150 players better than whoever the Lakers' fourth best player is at this point, unless Dorian Finney-Smith tends to pick it up, but we'll see what happens with that. So my West starters would be who we got? West starters would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Davis. Honorable mentions for the guards, I kind of mentioned them by name: Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. And then for the West front courts, honorable mentions, I got Alperen Sengun, Domantas Sabonis, LeBron James, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Jalen Williams. So we have some great players being left off for starters, and spoiler alert, some of those players will also be left off the All-Star team in general. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic to see. But however, I will also be this upcoming Thursday, so 3 days from now. It's the episode's going to be recorded an hour after the starters are announced. So haven't decided yet, but like at some points it's going to be either our regular schedule time or non-regular schedule time. We're going to record our who we think the starters, like the reserve, should be after the starters are announced. So that'll be a lot of fun to see. But now we will move on to the East. But give me 1 second. Actually, no, give me 1 second. So this was very interesting for me because the East guards aren't as strong this year, and they haven't really been strong since Kyrie left, because it's mainly been because when Kyrie was there, he was starting for most of the years, and then they just went with like a pretty weak other guard. And I'm not saying that the guards aren't like crazy weak, but they're some of these guys might not be starters if they're like in a different position. So so for my first guy, I will go and keep in mind I'm very biased with this guy. He's one of my favorite players in the league, but I'm going to go Donovan Mitchell. And Mitchell hasn't been great this year, to put it bluntly. Some people would say that he's not even the best player on his backcourt. They might say that Darius Garland deserves to start over him. I disagree with that, mainly just because Garland has been putting up the better stats and has been more efficient. But that being said, I do think that Mitchell is definitely guarded much more difficultly. The Cavs have had one of the best really the best offense in the league, and I think it has been because of Donovan Mitchell. I think they're guarding Donovan Mitchell like he's like one of the only elite offensive players, and leaving Garland to do like a lot of the heavy work. And also, just when push comes to shove, when the Cavs are in a close game, Donovan Mitchell is the guy that's taking over. That being said, though, the Cavs' two biggest games of the year against the Thunder, in the past couple weeks, that he's played awful, and so. Those two games may have very well left off Donovan Mitchell from the All-Star starter nod, but I personally would still give it to him because the Cavs have been so much better than everyone else this year, in the East at least. And I think the Cavs should get a starter, and I would take Donovan Mitchell. Some people would take Darius Garland. If you want to do that, be my guest, but I would still go Mitchell. And then for my second guard, this one wasn't too hard for me either. I did go with Jalen Brunson. Brunson is currently averaging 26 and 7, 26.7 assists, and he's actually first in WAR amongst guards. I'm trying to find that for Mitchell as well. B-Ball and Knicks isn't really doing well with that today, but yeah, the Knicks have been a great team this year, and they didn't have a hot start, but kind of like Brunson, but however they have picked it up since then, and yeah, definitely the two picks in my opinion, Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson. But however, I'm trying to think of I haven't done the math on this yet, but like I don't know if it's possible that LaMelo Ball will not be a starter because he is likely going to be first place in the fan vote, which means he's going to get. Hang on 1 second. Pen's not working. So if we do the math in front of us right here, so say that do we do it my way? Say Mitchell comes in. So Mitchell comes in first for the media, then Brunson, then Damian Lillard, then Garland. Then LaMelo for two of these. So that means you would get 5 and 5, which means that 0.25, a quarter of that would be 1.5. But however, he did come in first place for the fan votes. So the half of that would be half of 1 is obviously a half. So that means he gets 4. And then Donovan Mitchell, if he got 1 and 1, that would be very tough, actually. But like either way, like I just spewed out a lot of math for you guys. Maybe you should have had that in front of you, but I don't know if LaMelo Ball has a chance to not be the starter because he is going to come in first place for the votes. He has played in more games lately. I think he has a total of like 29 games, I want to say. LaMelo Ball, I believe, has played in 27 games. So he has played in 27 games. So it's more than Luka Doncic, it's more than Paolo Banchero. So it's less of its grace if he gets in, but I still don't believe he should start. I think it should be one of the four of them, of Donovan Mitchell, of Darius Garland, Jalen Brunson, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton. I would even take ahead of him too. So props to LaMelo Ball. The Hornets have been winning games with him, but he just hasn't been playing enough games for me to be considered a starter. I don't even think I'd put him in the All-Star in general. That's just my take there. And then for the East front courts, we have the easiest one. I already told you the answer earlier, but I would go with Jason Tatum, who is averaging 28, 9, and 5. Biggest struggle with him is that I do believe in the past month and a half, he has had more game scoring, shooting under 40% than scoring more than 50%. So I do think that Jason Tatum is a top 5 player in the league. He shouldn't be doing that as a top 5 player. That's just my take there. And then Giannis would be my second front court guy. He's averaging 32, 12, and 6. The Bucks have been underachieving a little bit. Him and Dame, some of the Lakers have been great, but everyone else just has been very struggling big time. And then Karl-Anthony Towns putting up a career year, averaging 25 and 14. Defensively has been great, but still phenomenal offensively, and debatably the best player in the Knicks this year. So yes, so the East, but like my honorable mentions for that are gonna be interesting because keep in mind, the East still needs 3 more front court guys. I do think that Evan Mobley would be the only lock. Spoiler alert, I won't probably mention that next week. After that, Jared Allen, Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Brandon Miller, Nikola Vucevic. Not many great names there. And I got into a discussion with my friend Tyler Brennan, Hoop Venue, he's been on the show before, about whether or not Jaylen Brown deserves to be an all-star. And I said, listen, I'm trying to come off here as unbiased as possible because I understand that I love the guy. I love Jaylen Brown more than anyone. And I wouldn't be mad if he didn't make it because it's been super disappointing. But the East just hasn't been as great this year. And it's been super disappointing at the East front courts. It just hasn't been it's very what do you call it, like lopsided to like this. It's very top heavy for the starters. After that, there's a very big fall off. So so as I mentioned, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Karl-Anthony Towns for my starters. And I think at the very least, at the 10 starters that I picked, I think the 3 front court guys will be correct. I think that Shea and Steph will also starts. Jokic would definitely start. Wemby and AD are kind of up in the air. I'm going to say no for both of them. I think Jalen Brunson will start. So I think I'll get 7 out of the 10 right. But I think that's a pretty solid one. But that's my prediction, 7 out of 10. But it would be interesting to see because the voting closes today. So if you haven't, go out and vote. Feels like I'm a politician. Tell people to go and vote. But try best if you want to vote for your favorite player. NBA doesn't give the fans much power. Might as well give them the power to choose the All-Star game. So. Even if you're going to vote for LaMelo Ball, even though I don't think he should be in the All-Star game, but that's okay. Very excited for the rest for the rest of the week and see how that works out. See who gets in, but we'll see how much they get right. This has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. Make sure to follow me on all social media platforms, including TikTok. TikTok is back. It was down for 15 hours, I believe, on my end at least. So. So follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'm going to try to start posting more on YouTube. Also try to subscribe to @SportsFluent on all social media platforms, including X, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks so much for tuning in on a Monday holiday afternoon. I'm going to check by one comment. Okay. Matt, we're only here for half an hour today because we're just going over the All-Star starters, but I'm also going to give a breaking news because it's not really breaking news, but just because you're here, Jalen Green and Giannis Antetokounmpo have been named Player of the Week. So shout out to both of them. Jalen Green averaging 32.5 points per game, 60% from the field, 63% from 3. While Giannis 32 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game, 6.5 assists per game. So good on Giannis and good on Jalen Green there. As I already gave my closing statement. So keep grinding, stay hooping, kids. Have a great night.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.